Hi folks, this is Don Meissner with the North Country Fishing Report. You know, it's finally trout season again, and I wanted to spend today and try to tell you as much as I can about trout fishing because I really think it's a gem that would bring a lot of pleasure to a lot of people. One of the first things you have to know is where can I find trout? Well, the DEC makes that easy for us. They publish a stocking letter that they put out right now. And in that stocking report, they break the state down into counties. And they tell every single body of water in a county of where they put trout and when they're going to do it. And this is something that can really help you and all of us. If we know what rivers have trout in them, then at least we know where to go. And the neat thing is they tell you when they're going to stock them. And in St. Lawrence County, it appears that they're going to do most of their stocking in May. And there's a reason they do this, even though the season begins April 1st. By waiting till May, they give the streams a chance to sort of settle down, for the water to start to warm and for the flow of the water to become lesser, so that the trout that they stock don't get washed away. I think this is one of the reasons. But anyway, it's a great place to begin. I know there's so many streams in this county that I wasn't even aware that they had trout in them. And the state also gives you the new regulations for each one of these waters. And one of the things that we have to remember is that in our area, you're allowed to keep 5 trout a day of any type of trout, whether it be browns or rainbows or brookies. And there's no size limit. But there is a oversize limit. You're only allowed to keep 2 trout that are over 12 inches long. And this is the regulations that you need to be aware of. And the second thing, we've talked before, I talked with Linda about the importance of learning how to cast. But once you know how to cast, I think that's the first step, because you got to get your bait out there to where the fish might be. And you can do one of two things. You can either wait for the fish to come to you, or you go to where you think the fish are going to be. And by that, what I mean is, like with bullhead fishing, you can cast out and you have weight on your line to sink it to the bottom, and just let it set there and wait for the fish to discover it, to smell it and come to find their dinner. But in the case of trout fishing, I highly recommend you learn how to look at the water and know how to let the current take your bait where the trout might be waiting for food to come. And here are some of the main steps to that. I think you have to scale down your tackle. You want to use light rods and very light line, because your baits aren't going to be that big. And you don't want your baits sinking down to the bottom. You want them just heavy enough so that they can float naturally in the current. And this is really important. So you have so many lines out there today, but for trout fishing, I would recommend 4-pound test, either fluorocarbon or monofilament. Now, fluorocarbon is going to be stronger than monofilament by weight, and it also has another property that I think might be important, is that you really can't see it very easily. But even if you had a colored fluorocarbon line, you'll be able to see it, but the fish can't see it that easily. And I think it's really important that you be able to watch your line, because when you're trout fishing, you're waiting for little changes in how that line floats. And that could be the fish sucking it in, and they can spit it out within a second if they do that. So it's really important for you to learn how to know if you have a bite. And, there's several things you can use. If you haven't trout fished before, I don't think it's wrong for, people sort of poo-hoo the thing of using live bait. But live bait is extraordinarily effective. This is what they find in their natural form. And angleworms are wonderful for trout. All fish love to eat worms. We know that's why they form plastic worms for bass. But trout love worms. And so this is a great time right now in the early season for you to use live bait. And if you don't want to do that, there's several soft plastics in little miniature sizes now that are made to look like natural food that might be in the water. And these can work very well. You fish them in the same way. You want to use little split shot, just enough to let it sink down in the water a bit, and just learn to let your line float down and watch it as it floats down in the current. You don't want to drag it against the current. You want to let it do this naturally. And I'm telling you, trout fishing can be wonderful. And one other thing, and I'm trying to keep this as simple as I can, because I've fished my whole life all over this continent for trout, and I love them. But they aren't that difficult to catch. They got to eat like other fish, and they can be very aggressive at different times. Remember another thing, that like all fish, they go through periods of the day or night when all of a sudden they become active, and it seems like every fish is feeding at that time. That can be caused by either a hatch of flies that come out or something. They all seem to know this is our time to eat. So don't get discouraged if you go a long period of time without getting a bite, because eventually they will feed. And the other thing that I wanted to let you know is trout are very, very affected by shiny things. And what I mean by shiny things are little spinners or spoons. If they flash in the water, that draws their attention, and they will come, and you can catch an awful lot of fish using little spinners. I would recommend either any of the spinners that are out there. If their blade spins around, it causes a vibration and it flashes. You don't need to have some expensive lures to be able to catch fish, but you could arm yourself with a few spinners and spoons, little spoons, and any live bait that you want to use, whether it be worms or minnows, anything like that works tremendous for trout. So don't be afraid to get into trout fishing. It has tremendous rewards. There's something about catching a beautiful fish, which trout are, in a beautiful surroundings, which any stream that meanders through the countryside can just offer you such a placid, beautiful experience just to be out there. And that's one of the draws of trout fishing. Until next time, folks, this is Don Meissner with the North Country Fishing Report.